The Mystery of BELICENA VILLCA. Fourth Book. Quest for Uncle Kurt. Chapter 37. If Xining had impressed me for its enormous dimensions, what to say in regard to Lengke, which was 4 times bigger? But it was about two different classes of cities. Xining represented the typical borderline city, situated over an important commercial path. His life depended more than anything from the traffic of the goods, and was not particularly interested in the production. For this reason it resembled, as I said, to a huge market. Lengke, on the contrary, constituted the classical metropolis. It was the capital of the province of Kansan. If it merchandised much or more as Xining, it was provided with key industries, just as the textile and the ferrous metallurgy, and gathered a great variety of agricultural products. Settled over the right border of the Yellow River, it gave the impression to be a medieval European city, for its crenellated walls and its high towers, but its demographic density resulted incomparable. Around 1 million inhabitants. Even if there were fortified suburbs of poor aspect, behind the wall was the main part of the city. Some 80,000 wooden houses beautifully decorated, with all the streets paved with marble or green granite. The nationalists had hurried to occupy it, distributing a regiment of 10,000 effectives. The motive: control a famous heavy cannons fabric, and others of powder and fuses. Things of China. Or perhaps the rationalism of Confucius. The curious was that, in the wall of Lengke existed a shiny, or black door, that belonged to the black market. With exemplary practical sense, the Totentum negotiated with the chiefs of the organized crime the bestowal of such door. According to the arrangement, the mobsters will be in charge to maintain a permanent surveillance, coordinated with the nationalist guard of the other doors, without being troubled by the police. The benefit that the Totentum, the government of the province, obtained with this original pact, was the tranquility of its troops, which could occupy it in the war against the Japanese, or to fight the communists. The criminal secret societies were as ancient as China, and always had been possible to coexist with them, represented the minor ill. Otherwise with the communists, or Japanese, would be impossible to coexist in peace. At giving them sovereignty over the black door, legalizes in some mode the illegal activities, and achieved certain supervision over the uncontrollable traffic of the black market. If it was not worked thus, obeying the societies to operate in the clandestinely, would be necessary to watch the 24 hours the walls, and resist periodic armed confrontations with the contrabandists. The Kalikas of Xining went directly to the Xining, and there they gave a password aloud. They opened our way immediately. But, once inside, they didn't guide us, before a rough evildoer, chief of a guild of bandits, as the definition of von Grossen permitted to presume. The chief of the Green Band was an old Chinese of exquisite manners, that for the incarnated ruby that the official had exhibited, he declared to be a Mandarin of first category, and first class. Such signal meant the highest hierarchy in the Chinese aristocracy. We also distinguished an image of a unicorn richly embroidered in his suit, hence known of the military quans. The civilian quans had bird insignias. He was called Tin Ma, that is to say, Knight of Heaven, and he surprised us, for his knowledge about all our movements. He knew that we were Germans, that we came from Bhutan, that we explored the Tibet at the same time that the other German expedition coming from India, that we destroyed the Duskat village, that we appeared mysteriously in the valley Ken and arrived to Xining, and that now we were requesting the help to travel to Shanghai. He spoke in cult Mandarin, and left a halo intrigue around his informs. We were in an enormous and fancy house, that could pass perfectly as a palace. The servants were finishing to put the table, and Quan invited to take sit. "It'll be glad to have dinner with you. I've understood that you are doctors, men of study, apart from warriors." "I'm too. I reached the grade of Hamming years ago, which is equivalent to what you call professor, the highest title that the University of Peking bestows." my specialties are the mathematics and philosophy. I've studied the Taoism deeply, and I profess it. The ours could be considered as a Taoist society. Is for this affiliation that we are natural allies of the caller circle of the Tibet. We consider that they know the occult part of the Taoism. Of all the terrace, the Tao. Of all the paths, the path. The strategic path that guides the spirit to set free from its material tethers. Many of the members of the Green Band, at retiring, usually secluded themselves in the Kalika monasteries. Karl von Grossen, and I, at knowing Tin Ma, agreed in that a new study concerning to the Chinese criminal societies was required. Evidently, existed a suggested confusion, perhaps originated in that the common source that the European disposed to know China, were the copious informs supplied by the English, which would contain malicious and false information. At last, for the English the SS, was also a criminal secret society. Because the last thing that could be accused to Tin Ma, was to be a typical criminal, although, the actions of his organization were quarreled with the law. He, and everyone in his band, were idealists, they had a spiritual objective to reach, and they were in the diabolic world. In such gnostic circumstances, the solution was always the same. The spiritual finality justifies any mean employed to open the way in enemy territory. The 25 men of Xiningfu, and the 6 lepers, were having a dinner in a contiguous house. Eskadfil, Shrivaria, von Grossen, Bangai, and I, were accompanying Tin Ma. We were who will continue the journey to Shanghai. The first would return to Xining, that same afternoon, with the lepers, whose destiny was the Tibet. The chief of the Green Band spoke English very well, although, that didn't make him feel proud at all, and he preferred to speak in Mandarin. It was not until the dinner was very advanced, when we knew because he acceded to speak in that language with von Grossen. We passed thus, talking with that old man, gifted with the curiosity of a child, all the afternoon. When the philosophical and religious matter was exhausted, we fell naturally in the political issue, that is to say, in the reality. Thenceforth, many hours followed during which we tried to make him comprehend the National Socialism, and its Hyperborean essence. He had information, of course, but we gave him the details that he required. Finally, satisfied to sustain a conference completely infrequent in such regions, he assured us, he revealed how he was going to ingress us in Shanghai. But, before he did a reflection about the situation in his homeland. "Oh, Tsing, that is to say Doctor. What you tell me about your Führer, and his government supported in patriotic masses, takes my spirit to shady thoughts about the future of China. The Führer has put before the Germans their heroic and glorious tradition, and they have accepted it with pride. Here, on the contrary, Mao Zedong indoctrinates the peasants with the theories of Jews, Marx, Engels, and Lenin, and he though them, to admire the Russians, a people which was savage when China had already a developed civilization. And moreover, Chiang Kai-shek has resulted to be a soft stone. Kai-shek means hard stone. The claim of Tin Ma was ironic sense, because it has been converted to the disowned Christianity of our millenary traditions. Perhaps, if he would have put, as your Führer, the culture of China in front of the Chinese, they would have supported it massively. Instead, he offers them the attractive and deceptive images of a foreign culture. A culture that belongs to whom just yesterday exploited us as slaves. Mao and Chiang, both renegated Chinese, are dazzled by strange gods, both present their foreign ideals to the people. And whom do you think that the Chinese will elect? To those who surely will oppress us again, as they already did, or those who promise to do something for the people? I do not want to answer, prematurely, to that transcendental query, but since now, I inform you that, the people supports in major great to Mao than Chiang, because Mao believes in the people and know how to express that belief, while Chiang only believes in Jesus, in England and in the United States. Jesus. Behold, another Jew, absolutely strange to the history and tradition of China. But what curse is this, which has fallen upon the kingdom of the midst? Is that there was none other option for China, than the Jew Jesus, or the Jew Marx? None of us responded to these dramatic questions, but I promised myself to send him the English version of Mein Kampf, the book of the Führer. I do not want to weigh down my guests with laments of an old man, apologized Tin Ma, but you'll realize that, even though constitute a criminal gang, as the foreigners qualify us, the Greens love China profoundly, and we are worried for its future. We foresee that some foreign forces, which we call Paralunya, that is to say, the White Dragon Jehovah, will try to kill the asleep Chinese elephant, before it wakes up. I will tell you how you'll arrive to Shanghai. You must know that exists a Tao or black route, whereby the contraband that circulates on both directions towards the Occidental Sea. The same is almost official, due to, on its entire route, there are bright functionaries, and crosses the same Japanese lines, because the Japanese don't resist to earn some extra yens neither. In 2 days a train that only reaches to Chengchao leaves from here. But, you will descend before, in the city of Xi'an, province of Shensi. Thence, you will march to the south, crossing the Mounts Tsinglin, that separate the Yellow and Blue rivers, up to the village of Henqiang, in the right shore of the river Haqiang. In that village you'll make contact with our men, who will embark you, in a vehicle that habitually carries contraband. You'll sail through the waters of the Henqiang, and, in the confluence with the Yangtze, you will take from this till Shanghai. As you see, it is a very simple plan. Indeed, it seems, replied the meticulous von Grossen. But let me make you some questions. The Chinese assented with a gesture that consists to incline the head forward. You're talking of 500 kilometers by train. It is possible that someone could suspect, and submit us to an interrogatory. What will we do then? Because we lack of the German official documents, and further, we're in China clandestinely. Oh, Tissing. You must cultivate the virtue of the patience. Condemned Tin Ma, with ingenuous severity. I told you that the train leaves in 2 days. For that date the 3 Germans will possess documents that affirm that it treats of 3 English accredited in China, by the Society of the Nations, with the diplomatic mission to observe the local situation, and present in forms that will serve for a future mediation. They will exhibit entry stamps by Inkong, and will be written in English and Mandarin. But don't be afraid. No one that can inquire you from here to Shanghai knows the enough English to notice that you are Germans. We will give you, also, diplomatic safe conducts, and a pass for the 2 Tibetans, in which will figure that you have contracted them in Xininfu. We will give you money too, the enough Chinese and Japanese money. Everything false, the papers and the money. All of the better quality. But, you will continue alone. A Green will accompany you to Shanghai. He will make to enter to the train, and will accommodate you in a wagon, which under our control. The only occasion in which you could be interrogated would be of descending in Xi'an, something very improbable, because you will only descend if there are signs of security, or if the train is stopped on the way, something possible and very common, but, in general all is solved with a generous offering. Either nationalists, or communists, in the poor China, nobody resists to the bribery. The Bolsheviks have not been original in this neither, because they were integrated to the old institution of the bribery, through a change of name that left their dignity safe. They call it, contribution to the revolution. However, if anyway, they inspect you, you will enforce your documents, and your most valuable talent. Are you agree? On the contrary case, I'll give you more details, but it is convenient for you to trust in the Green Band that knows China as nobody. Karl von Grossen felt ashamed. Logistic support with which we would count would be analogous to the one that a Secret Service gives. However, he didn't unnerve, and came back to the charge with another question. I guess that the rest of the route will be likewise covered, no? Believe me when I say that we trust in you. My questions obey to a more professional finality. That is, professional. I'm an officer of the intelligence, and I can't avoid to interrogate. in reality in whom we trust completely is in the caller circle, and they have put us in your hands. So we must trust in the green band. You do well giving us credit. We'll not defraud you. And, I assure you that, our man will take you, safe and sound to Shanghai. He knows the path through the Mounts Tsinglin, and the people of Hinkiang, as to the Japanese of the borderline guard in Nanking. But, for the doubts, before leaving from here, I will give you a password for the contact in Hinkiang, and where to find it. For the moment, von Grossen felt satisfied, and the 5 of us were guided to White Guests Hall, attended by solicitors and discreet Chinese ladies. On the next days, would be the opportunity for the Standartenführer to obtain from Tin Ma all the information that interested him.